There we go. I think. All right. I think we're live in both now. So Facebook. Yeah.
Awesome.
Let me check on my phone. Everybody, welcome everybody to the live
What's
stream, second
up?
live stream of the channel. So I'm just gonna check because last time I did it wrong. So let me see if I'm actually live on Facebook and on YouTube. Oh yeah, even
I
on this
also,
story.
you are?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're on
I
there?
we are live, brother.
Awesome. I apologize for not being there last time. I want to blame Carlos, but I'll blame myself
Let me see.
for not showing up the last time.
Oh shoot!
Ah,
Yes,
it's
we are
working.
live.
Yeah, yeah, it's
We are
working.
live on Facebook, and let me see
Okay.
on YouTube. I need to just double check on YouTube. Oh shoot! We are live on YouTube. Yes, it's
Yeah.
working. Yeah, it's
All right.
working.
Cool.
All
Well,
right.
awesome.
Let me see. Where are you? Okay, everybody. So yeah, this is officially the beginning of the second live stream. Uh, and yeah, this is officially the live stream, the second live stream. Sorry, I just duplicated my video. Okay, there we go. And yeah, so today we have something prepared for you all. So as you could see from the title, we're going to discuss a little bit the movie Society of the Snow. It has been very famous. My cousin Kayla told me to watch it and analyze quickly a little bit the ethical implications of survival cannibalism. And then we're going to react to some TikToks. And yeah, and then talk about capitalism and things like that. And so what I want to do today is that I want to Tristan and I are going to basically relax and just talk as if we normally as it like in the past when we were on the couch and just discussing different topics. So it's gonna be pretty chill, and obviously there will be some value from the discussions. And yeah, so I hope you like it. So I would like to
Mm.
start with just reading the plot of the Society of the Snow um, in case you guys are not aware of the movie. You really don't have to be aware of the movie to fully know what this is about. I'm just going to read the plot from Wikipedia. So it says, in 1972, Uruguayan Air Force flight chartered by an Uruguayan rugby football team and their supporters to take them to a camp in Santiago, Chile, crashes into a glacier in the heart of the Andes Mountains. So I'm from Peru, and we share with Chile, even though it's a long story of political wars there, but we share the mountains, the Andes Mountains. So of the 45 passengers on board, 29 survived the initial crash, although more would die from injury, disease, and avalanche over the following weeks. Trapped in one of the most inaccessible and hostile environments on the planet, the survivors are forced to resort to survival cannibalism of those who had already died in order to stay alive. However, rather than turn against each other, the survivors draw upon the cooperative teamwork they learned through rugby and spiritual faith in order to escape the mountains. Okay,
Okay.
so my cousin, because she knows that I'm studying philosophy and hopefully about to graduate, but we'll see about that. Eh, so basically, she told me that it would be really really interesting to watch the movie and to think of the ethical implications. Because there is a scene in the movie. Well, there are a couple of scenes in the movie in which people of faith, there were some few Catholic rugby players. Uh, they really didn't want to eat their teammates or people who were on the plane that they really knew, because obviously they were their friends, and some of the Catholic survivors that they were trying to survive. Obviously, people were hungry. They hadn't eaten for 7 days. They needed to eat something to survive, and the believers in the group, they were hesitant to actually eat corpses, to survive.
Hmm.
And the premise there was because obviously it was evil, or because there wasn't that it was bad or sinful to do something like that, to desacralize or to treat a body as nothing, as just an organism to be eaten. And so,
Mm,
and that obviously brings to our minds the ethical implications of survival. And obviously, in
mm,
normal circumstances, we all know that life is sacred to some degree, and doing
mm,
something like that is like, to most of us, our intuition, moral intuition, tells us that that is not the way. Now, the question is, if there are exceptions to, so to speak, the rule, and what is guiding that type of behavior. Now, Tristan hasn't watched the movie, but again, you don't really need to watch the movie to actually understand the ethical question or
yeah.
dilemma that you are faced. Now, I would like to know. I haven't talked to Tristan about this. I mean, he just found out a few minutes that I was going to talk about this. That's the way we roll
Hmm.
here. So, I guess, Tristan, what is your first impression about the question of
Yeah.
survival cannibalism?
I mean, I think honestly, I just have a hard time judging because I think that in a situation like that, like the rules change. I don't know if you can judge a person who's in survival mode so harshly. And so this idea of like, is it ethical to eat another human being? I feel like I feel pretty safe in saying like no, it's not ethical to do so. But like that's my initial feeling. I'm not saying I necessarily judge the person for not doing it, but like let's just take normal circumstances, right? In a normal circumstance, if I'm at the dinner table and someone was to serve me human, right? We would probably all object to that, right? And so I think that like as a standard in our society, uh, most societies all around the world, like cannibalism is unethical. But circumstances change when you're in a situation in which you need to survive. And so is it ethical in that situation to then do it? Maybe it's not ethical, but like, what are you going to do? I guess that's, as a Christian, I say, may the Lord forgive me for my sin, and so whether,
Yeah, yeah,
so I
yeah,
don't know. It's hard to
yeah.
say.
Yeah, I mean, to my mind, I think that there are like, okay, so there are like, I would say, two or three different aspirations to the good, right? Or two different aspects to the goods. And so we can discuss here, so to speak, higher order goods and lower order goods. Let's
Okay.
categorize this. For example, we understand that the respect towards life, the integrity of someone, I mean, protecting their being alive, basically, respecting that thing is one of the highest value in most societies, I would say. And that's why whenever
Yeah.
there is some sort of killing or some sort of exception to the rule, there has to be a special plea. There has to be a special justification to account for that type of suspension of the rule. Okay, so
Okay.
I would say that this good, or this thing that we value highly, I mean, we would say that life is one of them. Life itself, being alive,
Sure.
right? So that is one of the things. Then we would say that there is another form of good, or aspiration to the good, or something that is deeply important to us all, which we could call it, so to speak, to honor the dead, right? So we
Hmm.
we have this profound, so to speak, reason, or this profound sense that we should honor the ones that came before us, right? Because of their
Hmm.
sacrifices, to honor their memory. And we usually do
Hmm.
that. I think that implicitly we don't really bury the dead per se, just because we think that dead a corpse has any value. I don't think that is so much because the corpse itself has value, right? But I think
Hmm.
that in that type of, so to speak, symbolic process of burying the dead and crying and lamenting, and saying, how do you say, eulogy or something like that, these
Eulogy.
words.
Eulogy.
Eulogy,
Yeah.
exactly. Eulogía, una eulogía. That is a way of paying respect to the dead, of honoring
Right.
the dead, right? And I think that one of the reasons we are opposed to cannibalism, I don't think that it really has to do with the fact that we are eating human flesh or human meat or human muscle. It's not so much that. I think that there is something in, like, we feel like it's bad because there is we're treating the another human being, a fellow human being, with a biography, with feelings, with his stories, with people that they are living, that this person is leaving behind when dying.
Hmm.
We're treating it as if it's just another animal, so we, so
Yeah.
to speak, are lowering the status of dignity that this human being
Yeah.
has by eating, by treating his their corpse as if it were, a bistec, or like entrecot or whatever like that, like a piece of meat.
Right.
Now, obviously, this is problematic if we enter the debate about, whether or not animals need to have the same rights as human beings, right? For vegan people, they extend the principle of respect to other
Sure.
species. And so
Yeah.
we're not gonna get into that, okay? Because then we will lose a lot. But I would say that what is so interesting is that if we were to put these two goods, these aspirations to these two types of goods, right? The respect towards the a human life that is alive, okay? So not killing that life. And then on the other hand, if we talk about paying respect to the dead as a form of good, that we do it through expressive type of practices, such as a burial, such as saying some last words, such as keeping them in our memory, So I would say
Hmm.
that when it comes to survival, uh, these two goods have to be ranked, right? And so I would say
Yeah.
that life itself, or preserving life, would be, so to speak, a higher order good over paying respect to the dead,
Right.
which in this case, in our hierarchy of value, would be a lower order good. So in this
Yeah.
case,
It's like
because of that situation,
Maslow's
exactly. So because of the
hierarchy of
hierarchy of
needs.
value, we have to rank these different
Yeah.
goods. Not all goods are at the same level, And so I would say
Hmm.
that that's what made me think. And you see character development in one of the actors, that was as a rugby player that was surviving, right? This believer eventually ends up
Hmm.
eating. Uh, and so I think that there is this tension, right, that we have to wrestle with. But I think that the movie was a fantastic way of really um,
Hmm.
making us really think about life, about survival, the human spirit, and many things we take for granted. And I think that the movie
Yeah.
did especially the woman in charge of the makeup. Oh my goodness, she did such a
Yeah.
fantastic job. Like
Yeah.
even if you're hot, just by watching the movie, you feel cold. Like it's just so good. It's it's very well done. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I would say that that
I gotta
was
give it a watch.
yeah, that
I gotta give it a
Society of the
watch. But no,
Snow.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
I
mean, I
thought.
agree with what you're saying. I think that's the other thing. I agree with what you're saying, and I think that like it's an important distinction to make. Like that we have different that there's a hierarchy of values and a hierarchy of needs that we all have, and I think that we have to put those into consideration when trying to evaluate the ethics of this thing. And so it almost feels like it's not a simple question of like, is it ethical to eat a person?
Right.
Like I would think that if it's a simple yes or no question that you're asking for, I think the answer is no. I don't think it's ethical to eat a person, but that doesn't mean that there are not, kind of like you said, there's certain situations in which you have to be able to justify that. In a similar sense, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't really know, but I think about like indecent exposure, right? Like I don't know, like maybe these people's clothes burned up or whatever, and they didn't really have clothes that they could wear, and there might be a situation in which they're having to be exposed to each other and be naked right in front of each other, and that might not be and you might ask, well, is it ethical to be to have a group of 29 people sitting around uh naked and in front of each
Yeah.
other and seeing
Yeah.
each other in the
Yeah.
and you might I would say a simple answer is okay, maybe that's not the most, maybe ethical isn't even the right word, but maybe it's not the most decent thing, but that's sort of, again, that's a lower priority, right? This idea is
Exactly.
a much lower priority, and there's other things that take precedence, and so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, if we wanna get more technical in philosophy, we use facie or facie. Is prima facie is like a term basically to use like when there is a higher order principle or something
mhm,
that triumphs, like over a situation, then you are exempted
sure.
from abiding by the law, so to speak, and in
Hmm.
observation of the lower thing because of the higher thing that you have to respect, right?
Exactly.
And so, for example, something like that is, oh, should I lie to a patient about something because if I tell the patient the truth, they might have a heart attack? like things
Hmm.
like that, like different situations like that,
Hmm.
right? And so there are
Yeah,
like
yeah,
these
yeah.
exceptions to the rule, not in the bad spirit, but because you are trying to fulfill a higher order good or something of more
Right.
importance in your life. That's basically it. There's somebody that Alice Lo Ua, I think, wrote on YouTube, another a person thinking that we're on
Really.
Discord to join on Discord to join the
To
conversation.
join
We're
Discord?
we're not on Discord,
Uh,
everybody. This is a paid Riverside platform. I don't know how to use Discord. Maybe in the future I have like a free join type of event, but there is some order, okay? Law and order, everybody here. No, I'm just
yeah,
kidding. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
but thanks for asking. Thanks for the interest. So, anyways, let's continue now with are the political TikToks. Now, as many of you know, my wife is a left-leaning person and openly, and she has no problems. And so from time to time, she sends me these TikToks. Even though I don't really consume TikToks, she sends me. I do have an account where I upload some videos, so you can follow me there. But she sent me okay, everybody, this is a meta reaction of the reaction. Okay, so basically there is this woman, we are going to watch it together. There is this woman that actually goes through different tweets or comments, and she reads these comments because she just reads them, so it's not like reacting, but she kind of like reacts through body language, like haha, you see,
Yeah.
and so agreeing, obviously these tweets that she reads and things like that are super, or they tend to be quite critical with the status quo, with capitalism, with the way things are right now. Okay, now,
Sure.
as you know, I'm not the typical conservative anarcho-capitalist that everything goes and things like that. Absolutely not. You can watch my meritocracy series that I did with Tristen, and clearly we dive into some of these topics. It's not as simple as that. But I have not really watched it fully. I don't even remember. I think I watched it and I said, "Okay, this is good. So let me just save it for later so that I can actually react to this." Now, the you will see that the problem with the reaction things is that people like people to see reacting to things. Okay, the problem with that is that you cannot have a really pause, deep reflection on it. You know what I mean? I always tell my wife that
Mm.
I don't have opinions. I have theories. People have opinions. I have theories. Now, let me explain the difference. Let me explain the difference between having an opinion and having a theory. Having an opinion is like the typical surface level type of idea or impression that something causes in you, right? Oh, I see something. Oh, my opinion is that this is good, this is bad. But when I say I have a theory about something, is that it's contrasted, it's paused, it's reflected. I have read books about it, I have written about it, I have reflected for a long time about it. So I have a theory, a system of ideas to explain something like that, or to have a worldview, or to have a viewpoint on something.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing wrong with opinions, nothing wrong with opinions, but I'm saying like the problem is when we normalize opinions as if that is the standard of what you should be aspiring intellectually. That is my issue. It shouldn't be. An opinion is just the doorway for more research. It's the
That's
impression that
good.
something. Okay, okay. So what we're going
It
to do is
detaches you. You get detached. You detach yourself, which is I think very
so
nice. I think an opinion is
yeah.
more close.
But the same way I have a TikTok, the objective of my TikTok account is for you to stop watching TikToks. Okay, so it's almost like a parody. It's like a bomb within the system. It's like I have to live with my enemies, so I'm going to use it somehow against themselves. And so because of that, this is the same thing. I'm going to react to this just to show you the futility of reacting to something, because we barely will have time to actually go deeper. But hey, if you like it, then Merry Christmas. I'm glad. Okay, so we're going to
All
react.
right, let's go
Okay,
for it. Let's go for it.
all right, let's go, because we're already 25 minutes in.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so let me see. Let's see.
Are
I'm
we gonna
going
watch
to
the whole
share.
thing? Do you want to watch the whole thing and then we'll just react after,
I'm not sure,
or do
brother.
you want to
I'm not
go
sure.
piece by
I
piece?
think
All
I
right.
think we're okay. So it's 2 minutes and 33 seconds. So let's watch it and the entire thing, and then we pause on some that we might want to discuss. Is that okay?
All right, fine. All right, go
So
for it.
that people see the actual TikTok. All right. So let's do this. Share screen, and then there we go. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
If a monkey hoarded more bananas than it could eat while most of the other monkeys starved, scientists would study that monkey to figure out what the heck was wrong with it. When humans do it, we put them on the cover of Forbes. Capitalism is based on the
Bro, I'm like
ridiculous
against that already.
limitless growth and a closed.
Wait, what? What?
I'm just, I just don't like. I don't know. I don't like that comment. I'm pretty sure monkeys hoard bananas. Like I think it's
No,
a fact of life.
but bro,
Anyways,
let's try to keep our reactions. Let's watch it the entire thing so that
go
you
for it.
feel with the audience. The first thing we're watching it for the first time. I know it's
All
gonna
right,
cause you just to react. You can laugh, but let's just keep watching.
all
Okay.
right. I'm
Okay.
stirred.
Let's do it
Go.
again. Let's do it again.
If a monkey hoarded more bananas than it could eat while most of the other monkeys starved, scientists would study that monkey to figure out what the heck was wrong with it. When humans do it, we put them on the cover of Forbes. Capitalism is based on the ridiculous notion that you can enjoy limitless growth in a closed, finite system. In biology, such behavior of cells is called cancer. Workers lost 3.7 trillion in earnings during the pandemic. Women and Gen Z saw the biggest losses. World's billionaires get richer by 3.9 trillion during the pandemic. I'm not great at math, but I'm starting to connect the dots here. Why are ethics questions always like, is it ethical to steal bread to feed your starving family? And not, is it ethical to hoard bread while families are starving? My ability to dissociate has become too powerful. Now I'm just watching the fall of America like, yeah, that happens to empires while looking for dog hats on Amazon. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, it would cost 20 billion to end homelessness in the United States. Breaking news. The US House of Representatives is set to vote next week on 17.6 billion in aid to Israel. Interesting. First ever space hotel is slated to be operational by 2027. We literally just want healthcare. Evangelicals will start describing what heaven is like, and it's just a socialist
Bruh.
society. You watch
Nah,
The
nah,
Hunger
I got
Games,
it.
sided with the resistance. You watch Divergent, sided with the resistance. You watched Attack on the Titan, sided with the resistance. You read about history, you side with the resistance. When it's fiction or history, you understand oppression. Why do you
Isn't the
refuse to
Hunger
see it
Games?
when it's reality? It's fun that some folks think there's a secret group of rich people who control everything instead of the widely known group of rich people that control everything. Do you work well under pressure? Needs the response. Is this job one that regularly engages in actual emergencies like an ER or fire department? Or do you fabricate urgency through poor management, uneven distribution of duties, and an inflated sense of self for upper management? 8 guys in this country have more money than 4 billion people combined. But yeah, the mom buying groceries with food stamps is the problem. If you think fertilized eggs are people, but parents who've crossed the oceans with their kids aren't, stop pretending your concerns are religious. This is literally how discussing politics today feels like. I don't know how to explain to you that you should care about other people.
Okay. All right. All
Yeah,
right.
but I don't know. This just there's a lot of things. Okay, there's some things that I'm like, all right, I feel that. There's a
Yes.
lot of things that I like. I really, but obviously, most of it I don't like. Most of it I really
Okay.
don't like.
Okay, okay, everybody, we need to do a philosophical analysis, a criticism of these TikToks. Okay, so this is applied logic. We're gonna do an inductive example, a concrete example of applying logic to some arguments, and this is good training actually because even this keeps me active. Okay, so
Okay.
let's start with the first one, which I think is the one that personally has caused me to like I was like, hold on, you are not comparing apples to apples here. Okay, so if a
Yeah.
monkey hoarded more bananas than it could eat, while most of the other monkeys starve, scientists will study the monkey to figure out what the heck was wrong with it. When humans do it, we put them on the cover of Forbes.
But this is what monkeys do. I just think this is what monkeys do. I actually think that there are many monkeys uh, that hoard bananas and don't
No, no,
share those
but
bananas. There are some situations where monkeys share bananas with other monkeys that they might know, but not with monkeys that they don't know. So I don't even know why we're comparing monkeys to human beings.
no, but
But
she,
maybe I'm focusing on the monkey.
right, you are focusing too much on the monkey. I think that
I just think
what
it's a ridiculous comparison. I don't think it's fair to. This is the premise is incorrect. I think the premise is already wrong. This idea that like, oh, if it was a monkey, then we would be like, wow, there's something wrong with it, but we don't see anything wrong with humans. It's like, but you actually do see the monkey, so this doesn't make any sense.
Right,
Do
right,
you understand?
exactly. Okay, yes. To me, the example of the monkey is like, what's wrong with monkey? Well, I don't know if I would react that way, but let's go along with the premise of the. Let's use the metaphor that, or the comparison that she's
Fine.
using. Let's accept the example of the monkeys. Let's accept
Okay.
that we would see a monkey hoarding bananas, and we would say something like, "What's wrong with this monkey?" Let's accept that. Let's go with
Okay.
it. Okay, when humans do it, we put them on the cover of Forbes. Now, when humans do what? Like hoard bananas? Obviously, she's not referring to that. But I would say maybe hoarding resources, right? Money, resources, and
Right.
things like that. Now, why do I feel like it's a wrong comparison? It's not fair because she's comparing like a food, a piece of food, a banana that expires if you don't eat it, right? Why would you hoard something that would like it would go bad if you don't eat it soon, right? And I don't think that a monkey can eat those many bananas. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so that's the first thing. And she's comparing a banana with Forbes is where many people who have companies, I understand, appear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
CEOs and
Yeah.
things like that who have created company.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot compare bananas with companies because a company provides a service or a product for people that people actually buy. So it's not
But
this
she's talking
idea
about
of it,
people. She's talking about like an individual. Oh yeah, I guess companies are individuals. She's talking about like you take like an individual person, you put them on the cover of Forbes, like
right? But
Elon
usually,
Musk.
right, but Elon Musk is on the cover of Forbes not because he just hoarding bananas or money. It's because he has created Tesla and all, SpaceX and other
Exactly.
companies. And so I feel like just reducing the merit, so to speak, attributed to the person that appears on Forbes as if that person is just hoarding and not providing any value at all. I think is at least disingenuous. Like it's not
No, I
presenting.
100% agree.
You
No,
might not
no,
like Elon Musk, but Elon Musk,
but he's providing jobs.
if he's able to hoard the money, it's not because he's just a hoarder or he can just do it. It's because he has
Mm-hmm.
provided a company, a type of service, a product that everybody wants. Otherwise, he wouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
there, right? And so
Yeah, yeah.
and again, this is not as just as simple as saying, "Oh, he just merits that," because again, we know how problematic it is to say that. But just to pretend that a SpaceX or Tesla is not adding any value at all, or that Elon Musk is just an idiot that is just hoarding things, is I feel like you are just making a straw man. Like you are just making
Yeah.
a caricature of the people appearing in Forbes as if they haven't accomplished or done anything for humanity that is positive to some degree. Now we could talk
Mm-hmm.
about negative capitalism, which I think that some of the next
The
TikToks
following
or
videos,
tweets
yeah.
are about. Yeah, we can discuss that. But I think that that's why I feel like that's not fair because they are still creating something of value. And
Right, I
it
agree.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, no, I agree. I mean, I think that's the thing. It's a disingenuous argument. I think really for that exact reason. Elon Musk is creating jobs. Like that's what like he didn't like the money didn't fall from the sky. He wasn't going around, digging. I'm sure I guess you can maybe make the comparison for some people who maybe, I guess you could say maybe investors, people who like invest in cryptocurrency and make $1 billion. I guess those are people that haven't really added a whole lot of value, but have gotten a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I guess you can make that argument, but we're also
Or traders,
not to,
they trading and things like
yeah,
that. They just expect
whatever.
they just
Like
play along, but they're not creating a product or a service.
exactly, but I feel like that's not who she's talking about in this case. The people she's talking about are the Jeff Bezos and the Elon Musks and the Bill Gates of the world who I might have issues with for other reasons, but my main issue with them is certainly not the fact that they started a company, took a risk, made a lot of money doing it, and then provided a lot of jobs. Like they're adding value to society, and this is not what's happening. So
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
people,
Fair.
yeah, although people are starving, I think that's the thing is that they see that if they see people starving, they see rich people, and they're saying, well, and they kind of put the two together. I think it's the situation is much more complex than that. It's not as simple as there are people that starve and there's people that are rich.
I think that it comes to also to the question that if is it ethical for billionaires to exist, right? So I hear a lot of left-leaning people
Yeah.
saying things like it's unethical for a billionaire to exist. Like this shouldn't be legal. This shouldn't be. This is not
And how
good.
much
But
money is ethical is the question.
yeah, like
Then
what is like? I think that
what's the number?
Patagonia's CEO or owner, like they believe more in protecting the environment, paying well to their employees and things like that. Patagonia, like this mountain
Hmm.
type of sport wear, and I show it to one person who told me, "Hey, there are no ethical billionaires," and she told me, "Oh, maybe this is the first one that I know." Yeah, but he took, but the Patagonia CEO, I think that then he donated like most of the profit that made him a billionaire to these causes that he believes in, and so
Yeah.
perhaps that's where people are saying, like you live a luxurious life, but there are so many humans that are not doing anything, and I guess sometimes it gets mixed, sometimes it gets mixed. I would say the charity of the individual and the individual as a CEO of a company, right? Because something that I don't know if many people know, you actually need a lot of extra profit to actually reinvest in the company and make it grow and take on new
Hmm.
projects. And so it's not just making money, it's having so much to spare so that you can reinvest in the company and then
Exactly.
develop new lines of products, and many things fail, and so you need extra cash flow, so to speak, to be able to make that work. um, but anyways, I just feel like I just have so much respect for people who try, because it takes effort, man. It takes like so much work. It takes
Yeah.
like organizing your life, saying no to so many things until something works. I mean, I remember that Tesla was about to be bankrupt. Before being so successful, it was about this close to just not be successful at
Hmm.
all. I remember. Uh, but again, I'm not a fanboy of Elon Musk at all and things like that. But I mean, I respect the people who work hard, who tries things, who tries to add value to some degree, right? Now
Yeah.
we could talk about ethical capitalism and what that looks like. But anyways, let's watch
Let's go
the
for
next
it.
one.
Let's go for it.
Yeah.
If a monkey hoarded,
So this is a
study
monkey
that
one.
monkey to figure out what the heck was wrong with it. When humans do it, we put them on the cover of Forbes. Capitalism is based on the ridiculous notion that you can enjoy limitless growth in a closed, finite system. In biology, such behavior of cells is called cancer.
Okay.
I don't. I
I
try
don't
to
even
take it
understand.
apart. It, I'm trying to take it apart. Like I don't know if this is like real. A closed finite system. I don't know if that's true. Like I have a feeling this is not true. Um,
What do you think
I
that is
mean,
not true? Like, because I think that with finite systems, she means like okay, I think that she's the Hugh Colton, whatever,
yeah,
is referring to the idea of capitalism as a form of commerce, right? And so it is true
yeah.
that capitalism was part of the modern innovation. Before that, it was just the kings possessed territories and things like that, and it was predicated on different things like the troike. I don't know how the trade. I give you this object for this object and things like that, instead of
Hmm.
having this abstract coin. But even we can go back to the Roman Empire and things like that, and they had coins. So it's a little bit complicated per se. But I would say that something like the market value in a globalized manner is more a modern invention. I would say, obviously. Now,
Yeah,
that's why perhaps Hugh is referring. I'm trying to be very charitable, as you can see. Like, I think that he's referring to this finite system, meaning that it doesn't need to be this way, but we have opted for this way. Does that make sense?
yeah. I just, I don't know. I just, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. I think there's a lot of words that are being used and manipulated in a way to make it sound like this, but um,
It's based on a
it,
ridiculous notion.
it's not really
Yeah.
finite. Okay, so I think because the issue is this, right? Like, I mean, our society doesn't really, and again, this made another problem, right? I think originally there's the idea is that there's like you can take gold as the original currency. Money was originally replaced by gold, and there was a finite amount of gold that you had in in a society in a country that could be basically exchanged for paper and there at that point I guess there was technically a finite amount of money in society, but I'm not an economist, so I'm not really good when it comes to that. I guess you could split the bills and a certain amount. But now that's not the case anymore. Now we have a society basically based on debt, and we just create lots of debt. And I guess money is sort of invented nowadays. And so
Yeah,
I don't
money.
really. It's
Yeah,
kind of a complex thing, and I don't know if I have a really good opinion on this one. I just think it's incorrect. That's all I can say. I just think.
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know to what extent we can compare capitalism or what aspect of capitalism. Something I told my wife is like I feel like whenever people have any issues, like, oh, it's capitalism, and I feel like I don't know what they are criticizing. I don't understand. Like, I don't know what it means. I don't know what they mean
Yeah.
when they say, oh, it's cap. What do you mean? I don't understand that. You really need to
Right.
clarify that for me because I don't understand that. Like, do you have an issue with that type of commerce, or do you have an issue with many companies that are super aggressive that do not take respect? They don't respect the land or the protection of the workers and things like that. Because then we're talking two different things. You don't have a problem with the, so to speak, the essential characteristics of this form of commerce. Yeah, right. Which
Yeah.
there is this an abstraction. Like money is nothing else than just an abstraction of value, right? So instead
Yeah.
of me giving you milk in exchange for you repairing my shoes, right? Like instead, like the ancient type of trade, like I give you this, you give me that type of service, or I give you something that I possess and you give me this, you do this favor for me. We have abstracted these, so to speak, singular elements into just a general currency of value, right? So to speak, even though
Yeah.
it doesn't exist. That's why I've say it's an abstraction, right? Money, that it stands for
Hmm.
something. But I feel like once you have that type of system, there can be ethical ways in which you protect the land, you pay well to your workers. Like, just because you have this way of commerce doesn't necessarily mean that it has to exploit people or the land. You are able to, so to speak, practice an ethical capitalism. I would say, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah. I
why
guess.
I think that it's possible to practice a ethical capitalism that respects the land
Yeah.
and the human dignity. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does. I mean, yeah, I think it's like you can, yeah, you can ethically extract value from somebody without degrading them or making things worse for them. I guess maybe the thing I was thinking about was like this idea of limitless growth. I'm like, is capitalism based on the idea of limitless growth? I would say no, actually, because I think I think about the idea of starting a business. When you're starting a business, part of the things you have to evaluate is actually your market size, and that's one of the biggest things when you're doing the initial research for a business is what is the actual size of my market. Like if I wanted to, uh, you know, let's say I wanted to start like a running shoe store or something like that, or sorry, I wanted to make my own running shoe. I have to basically evaluate what's the size of the running shoe market, and
Right.
there's a limit to that. Not everybody buys running shoes, and so there's calculations that you have to make and research that you have to do in order to make that calculation to decide, can I reach that? Uh, can I reach that? And so it's actually not founded on limitless growth. Like it's the idea is that there's a specific market that you're tapping into, and the hope is that you can uh, kind of wrap your hands around that market and uh, again not exploit it, but take advantage of that. You see demand, you see a need, and you try to meet that need as much as you can. So
Right. Right.
I don't know. I think it's wrong. I think maybe it's the limitless thing that I'm getting bothered with because I disagree. It's not limitless, and I don't think capitalism even says it is,
Right.
and therefore it's not cancer.
And Santiago Rios says, Santi, our friend. Hi, Santi. Thanks for watching. He says, I feel it's not even worth comparing economic systems with biology.
That also might be true. I think that tells. Let's get on to the next TikTok then,
Bro,
because
but
maybe that's
okay,
true.
I just audience, I want you guys to see, because we are trying to react, but we are not really reacting. As you can see, we are analyzing this we're trying to really think deeply about it, but it's just giving us headaches. It's very difficult to think deeply about some of these things because we're trying to find, so to speak, a rigorous logic when there isn't one, right? So
Yeah.
so there's a false metaphor with cancer in biology and capitalism. Capitalism is not, it doesn't just share some of the just the characteristics of growth and proliferation of cells, like of money, of what. So it's like, and but the problem with this is that a lot of people read this and say, yeah, I mean, let's just kill capitalism. This is so crazy, it's so bad. Okay.
Hmm.
Anyways, let's watch the next one. All right.
Go for it.
Workers lost 3.7 trillion in
Is
earnings
it
during
good?
the pandemic. Women and Gen Z saw the biggest losses. World's billionaires get richer by 3.9 trillion during the pandemic.
Okay, okay, hold
I
on a second.
almost have. I have a hard time with this because I don't even know if this is true, and I feel like I don't even want to like argue it because I'm like, is this actually a real statistic?
All right, all right. Let's skip this one. Let's go to the next one. We don't have to.
You know,
There are so
I'm not
many.
great at math, but I'm starting to connect the dots here. Why are ethics questions always like, is it ethical to steal bread to feed your starving family? And not, is it ethical to hoard bread while families are starving? My
All right.
I mean,
Okay, I'm
yeah.
gonna play devil's advocate. I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Okay.
I think she has a. I think existential comics has a point. Um, okay, so for example, to keep prices competitive in supermarkets, right? So many times they have to actually throw food instead of just selling it. Otherwise, it would they would need to lower the price of everything, and so just to
Hmm.
keep prices competitive, many times a lot of supermarkets have to just either not sell it or throw it or just waste it, like goes to the landfill, right? So it doesn't go to people. Now, to
Hmm.
what extent, and this is because of how the one of the features of capitalism, I would say, is oferta y demanda, right? So the
Yeah.
higher the offer, the cheaper the price, right? And so then, but
Hmm.
the higher the demand and the fewer and the less the supply, then the price increases a lot, right? And so
Hmm.
because of that feature of capitalism, I think to some degree, the question and then is it ethical to hoard bread when families are starving? And that is, I think, that a fair point there. I think that to some degree there is something that is one perhaps of the feature of capitalism that might need to be modified. I don't know what you think.
I mean, I don't like it gets again like what it depends on what they're talking about. Like, what is it? What is the definition of hoarding bread? Whoever, I bet you, existential comics hoards bread. I bet you he's got cans of soup like in his like pantry that he hasn't given out to the homeless. So like what is your definition of hoarding bread? Like is it ethical to hoard bread when families are starving? Like okay, like maybe it's not, but that's I don't even know if that's necessarily is that capitalism's is the problem therefore capitalism that like that's the case? Like what's your alternative? I'm trying to understand what your alternative. Like I believe, and I don't believe in pure capitalism. I think that there's got to be a mixture. I actually do think that there should be some like state funded programs to actually take into account people that aren't able to make it or people that are starving, people that are hungry. I'm actually very pro that idea, but I don't think the idea is to then invent a social society, and I don't think the problem is necessarily capitalism. So is it ethical to hoard bread when families are starving? I guess it's not, but are we? I don't know. Am I arguing capitalism right now? What am I arguing?
Well,
It's not.
I
I
would,
don't know. I like. Tell me why it's capitalism's fault.
yeah,
Because
well,
people were starving. People were starving in communist Cuba and Russia and Vietnam and everywhere else.
I guess the tweet is not necessarily referring to capitalism per se. I would say that we are contextualizing it that way. Let's remove
Okay.
the capitalism discussion from the picture. Is it ethical to
Okay.
hoard bread when families are starving? Of course not. It's not ethical. We should be generous. You should give. We believe. I believe. Well, Tristan and I, we believe in the gospel. We believe in Jesus, and so I follow the vision of the good life that Jesus embodies in the gospels. And I feel, and this is something that I'm puzzling like crazy, is that I want to believe, I really want to believe that if at some point this podcast explodes or for some reason I become wealthy through books and things like that, I really, really want to believe that I will be the type of person who won't buy this Lamborghini or these things because for me a higher good is to give more to people who are starving. I want to believe I will
Hmm.
be that type of person. And thanks to my wife and my friend Tristan and Santi and other people who know me and love me, I want them to keep me on check. I want them to keep me connected with this part of the gospel of Jesus and personally.
Hmm.
And so for me, any form of hoarding, if you do it from greed and from fear or for this vision of the good life of wealth and accumulation and maximizing comfort, minimizing suffering, if that is what's guiding and driving the way you live your life, absolutely it's not ethical. That is not the good life. Obviously, from my point of view, I think that I really want to believe that, we can do way better than that, way better than that. But
Yeah,
anyways,
but
at a
yeah, I know. I
personal
mean, I
level,
agree.
I'm applying this at a
Yeah.
personal
Okay.
level.
On a personal level, okay, sure. Yeah, sure. I just think it's. I almost feel like the finger is being pointed at people though. Like these
Yeah,
questions, like she's making me feel like a finger is being pointed at a person, and I'm like, the reality is you are like looking at your clothes and your necklace and your, like you are hoarding things. Like you, like what is the definition? Because the reality is every single one of us, both you and I, and the people watching this to some degree are hoarding
yeah,
things.
yeah,
Like there are things that we have that we don't need. You have a TV, or maybe you have, two phones, right? You have two phones. Are you a hoarder now because you have two phones? And
yeah.
you might have
And you
a
could always,
you you're justified. I mean, you might have a
yeah,
justification for it, but like, is it something you really needed? You could have used that
right.
money to go give to someone else. And so it almost
Mm,
feels like, and it almost feels as though the finger is being pointed, and I don't know what the definition of hoard is. I think that there's a better question, honestly, that could be asked. I don't think it's a bad question. I mean, overall, I don't think it's a bad question. I just don't know if it's helpful to ask this question in this sort of accusatory manner. That's basically saying,
right.
"Ha, gotcha! Like you guys are awful, for what you do." I'm like, there are deeper things that are going on. A while ago, and
Right.
I'll kind of finish here because I don't want to go on too long, but I think it was a month ago. I went out with a friend to go give food to some of the homeless people out in Milan, and we bought food from this place called Too Good to Go, and maybe some of you guys know what the app is, Too Good to Go.
Yes.
But basically, you have like grocery stores and what do you call it, bakeries that will, instead of throwing away their food, they kind of sell it at a lower price so that they don't have to throw it away. Anyways, we grab some of that food. We go out to give the food out to some of the homeless in Milan, and literally nobody took the food. Nobody wanted the food that we had to give them. I'm talking. I went out for 3 hours with my friend. Okay, like I'm like two. It was like 2 days before Christmas, I think. And nobody accepted the food. And if you've ever been to Milan, and we were in Centrale, like the central station, and then kind of in that street, there's a ton of homeless people, and not one person would take the food. And I thought it was interesting, but it made me realize maybe there's a deeper need that's happening right here. Like maybe like when we talk about like, oh, people just need food, maybe you actually don't know what people really need. And it was really through these conversations that I had with people that I found that there was a deeper need that wasn't being met that we needed to figure out either as a society or as individuals. But there's more to the story than just that. And I don't want to quickly point the finger at people and say you're a bunch of hoarders because of A, B, C, and D without really understanding what the real problem is. So,
Yeah, yeah.
anyways, that's
Yeah, and I think another thing that I think in the book of Ecclesiastes, I'm gonna paraphrase this. Okay, so why do you want to be, like, so to speak, righteous in excess, or to an extreme? Why would you destroy yourself, right? And I feel like when
mm,
you embrace this logic of, oh, we should give everything to the poor, then by that definition, why are you talking in a mic? You could tell that mic to give it to a poor person with the money that you get from that. Why do you even dress, or why do you even go on holidays? Like, you can extend that logic of hoarding.
yeah,
Let's replace hoarding by saying just enjoying life, right? Why do you travel? Why do you buy things? Why do you eat out? Don't do any of these things. Save the money and give it to the poor. And so we could then use this good principle and make it go crazy, right? And to an
yeah,
extreme. Because the problem is that this ethical principle of giving, of generosity, has to be, so to speak, contextualized by a hierarchy of other goods that will
yeah,
then put this principle in the right place. When you just take this principle and you just remove it from the context of other goods that are also important to take into account, then what you do it then is just you become tyrannical, and then you have this
yeah,
logic, and you just put the burden on yourself and the burden on other people to save everything, and you don't even have this, so to speak, gracious attitude of enjoying life, of also appreciating other things. And I think that we need to be really careful with that, because I know that you guys who have a temperament of being more militant or activist by nature, of reforming, of seeing the needs and meeting that, I love your heart. I love that inclination. But the danger with that is that then you can take this logic and you can destroy yourself literally by guilt or by
Mm,
saying I'm never doing enough. And I hope that's the case, like that you actually are wrestling with that, because then I know other people who just virtual signal, oh, this is wrong, and they don't move any finger. They don't even try to do anything better.
mm,
And I think that that's the worst kind, right? Like they just talk the talk,
yeah,
but they don't do anything about it at any level at all, you know? And I would say
yeah,
that now I don't
totally.
want
And
to,
I've been there.
and again,
Good.
I don't want to blame people in the sense that there are some people who can believe in a cause and not necessarily do something directly. That I feel like
Hmm.
that's fine, right? You don't need to do all. Also, you might criticize something, and actually, my wife, it's funny because I told her, but what are they offering instead of this capitalistic model? And she told me, why do they need to offer something to criticize something? And I was like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, many times you can see or acknowledge that these some certain things have some flaws and something to be improved without necessarily you having an idea how to replace that model, right? That doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily invalidate your criticism. So fair enough. Something I it's not a necessary thing for you to be able to criticize something. But anyways,
Yeah,
as you can see, this is we don't know how to react, right? As you can see,
yeah.
we
And I
just
think that, yeah,
that's
yeah,
why
we're
I
just
told
trying to
you we
figure
are
things
gonna do
out.
a we're gonna do we're going to do a parody of reacting. We're doing a
Exactly,
meta reaction of her reaction, you know, because we don't know how
exactly.
to react. That's the point.
I think that
Anyways,
last thing, if I could say this, I want to say, I know,
yes.
I want to get to the next TikTok, but like one thing I was just thinking about is, you know what, like I'm the thing. One of the things I'm grateful for when it comes to, I guess, capitalism is the fact that I, as an individual, have the ability to basically like repent of my sin. Imagine if we lived in a society in which we had to give all of our money to some entity, and then that entity equally divided uh, the money or whatever or the resources to all people. I have a hard time thinking that anything can actually be that efficient, and I think, as has been proven by previous times which it's been tried, it has failed. And even now, right, like if you try to, I'm in the middle of trying to get my permit of stay for Italy, and I've been waiting 6 months for the state to give that to me. All right, so and this is just a card. I'm looking for a card, right? Like we're not talking about money, resources, food. Like the government is notoriously inefficient at getting a lot of things done. So, and what's really nice though is that I, as an individual, have been able to either have been able to actually, by using the people around me that make money, that have an altruistic worldview, I've been able to gather money from them to be able to give to other places, right? As a my mom's from the Dominican Republic. When I was a kid, we would come whenever we would take all the clothes that we had gotten from America. Like literally, she would take my entire wardrobe. We would go to the Dominican Republic, and she would give all my clothes away to like everybody, and I'd come back to Boston and I would have no clothes. And then we'd have to buy new clothes again. But you know what? The reason why we were able to do that was because like my parents were able to make enough money where they were like, we can accumulate this again, and then we can give this. But like that was, I don't know. It's sort of like these kids probably were able to get more clothes and more things than they ever would have gotten in another system.
Mm,
Now, part of it, this depends on individuals being altruistic, but I trust the individual and my ability to influence an individual to be altruistic, then I trust the state, if that makes sense, to be
right.
altruistic
Like entire
and to
system.
influence the state and being altruistic. Yeah, like it's so much easier to influence an individual. It's so much easier to tell you to be altruistic than it is for me to tell the state to be altruistic. I have to put votes together and put a bunch of people together. I have to hope that the state won't kill me if I say something out of line. Like these aren't
Yeah.
that's not an ideal scenario. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
maybe I'm
No,
flawed
and
in
no,
my
and
thinking,
I
but
like also when I think we were talking about the last episode on meritocracy about if an anti meritocratic society is a better society, and you said that the government is not this impersonal entity, like it's people and people are greedy, and I think that I think that
mhm,
progressives forget that actually the state is also made of people and they have done a lot of mismanagement of funds and they hoard many things because they want higher salaries or they want to keep the power or the benefits of being just
yeah.
people working for the government, and I think that we need to also remember that. Okay, next one.
Families are starving. My ability to dissociate has become too powerful. Now I'm just watching the fall of America like, yeah, that happens to empires. while looking for dog hats on Amazon.
I don't know what to say about that. There's nothing I
Yeah,
can
I don't
say.
really like this
Yeah.
one. I don't. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
not interesting.
whatever.
According to the Department of Housing and
Okay.
Urban Development,
Yeah,
it would
this is
cost
the.
$20 billion to end homelessness in the United States. Breaking news. The US House of Representatives is set to vote next week on $17.6 billion in aid to Israel.
All right. All right. What do you have any opinions on that?
I'm curious if the 17 billion was to Palestine, if this tweet would have ever been made. I'm just curious if it ever was.
Okay.
And so this person is on, but I don't. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But whatever.
Bro,
Outside of that,
yeah, it's fine.
I,
It's
I'm.
fine.
I mean, again, I'm not big picking a side on Palestine or Israel. I'm just saying that, like, if instead of Israel, the person had replaced that country
Right.
with something like Syria
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or Palestine or something like that, if the feelings, if this tweet ever would have been made, or that comparison would have ever been made, that's neither here nor there. The
Right.
$20 billion to end homelessness in America, it's hard to say because I don't know what they mean by that. Like you can't just give someone money and then expect that to not happen. The reason why people are
Eh,
homeless in America is quite complex. Like
Yeah.
it's not that simple. But I don't know what they mean by the 20 billion. Like, is this resources, the services to the homeless people? Are we talking, like, is the 20 billion just giving them a house, and is that what that is? Like, I don't know what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I remember hearing a lecture on the problem of money and to fix inequality of societal problems, and many this that is a simplistic view, right? Saying like, oh, 20 billions will fix these problems because again, the problems have many levels of analysis, right? Of many dimensions that need to be fixed. So yes, you might with 20 billions you might provide to be able to cover, like, to create a program to cover welfare or whatever, or to provide welfare and give them the first steps. But people are complicated, and people with addictions, people who are homeless, like a lot of people, like, the this is something that let me see, something made a sound and I don't know what that is. Ah,
Hmm.
okay, yes, my okay. And so I feel like, um when people say, like, there needs to happen so many things for you to actually get to the point of getting the homeless outside of that, so
Yeah.
to speak, situation. And there has to be many changes in their addictions they have, the psychological issues and things like that. And it's funny because a lot of people talk about the poor or the homeless, and they have never lived with them. And I come from
Mm.
Peru, from one of the most dangerous neighborhoods, from Callao. And I can tell you, and this is something I tell people, and they get, oh, don't say that. No, no, I'm saying it. The poor, the homeless are annoying. They don't smell good. No, no, seriously, they don't understand. I know many poor people. I grew up in a poor neighborhood and things like that. And what people do not realize is that the poor is annoying. The poor has many issues that are difficult to deal with. They don't want to change many times. They are super stubborn, even if you give them the tools. So this idea, I feel like this Western idea of this is. I feel like this is the complex savior of the left. The right has their complex
Yeah, yeah,
savior,
yeah.
but I feel like the left, this is the complex
Savior
savior of the
complex.
of the left.
Savior complex.
Savior complex of the left. Sorry, this idea of, oh, you are such a victim. It's like the worship of victimhood, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like, oh, you are such a victim. Like, oh my goodness, they, like, yes, it's nothing is your fault. You have no moral agency. Like, you
Mm.
everything is everybody's
Yeah.
fault. You have no fault at all. And sorry, you are so oppressed that nothing can be done for you. This is just a very infantilization of the poor. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's almost disrespectful for people who are actually poor. I remember talking to poor people and I told them, listen, this is how people view you. How do you feel? Oh, they're insane. They're so disrespectful. Of course, I have agency, of course, and things like that. I just sometimes don't want to do it, and period. And this is what people don't realize. And I'm coming from a context where I was in that neighborhood with that people. Okay, so I'm not just talking about a theory in textbooks. I'm actually talking about first, like, lived experiences. Okay, and so
Yeah.
the poor many times is people like you and me. Like, we have problems, biases, we're prideful, we don't want to listen. Many times we
Yeah.
don't want to change our ways. And I feel like for some reason in the social imaginary of left-leaning people, I feel like this savior complex they infantilize oppressed people as if they have no agency, no responsibility, and nothing can be done for them except to overprotect them and give them everything. And I feel like that is an insult to people who are poor. Anyways, that is
Yeah, this is a very controversial thing to say because it's like, wow.
I'm going to
But
get canceled.
I know. But I really, I think about this a lot. And, I think the more that I've spent time um, with, I feel bad even saying it. Like the more I spend time with poor people, the sentence itself feels so like gross to even like say, like to utter. I hate it. But
I
like
mean,
but
I
again,
was
I
poor. I
remember.
was poor, so I don't feel bad. When I'm
Yeah,
saying when I was living with them, I was also poor. That's why I was next to
yeah,
them.
yeah.
That's what I'm
There
trying
we
to
go.
say.
Okay, cool. So when I was talking to people like you, and I'm kidding, but like, but but I was thinking, like a month ago, right, when I was walking and delivering that food, one of the first guys I sat down and spoke with, we talked, and we were asking him like if he wanted some food, and he was like, "No, I don't want any food," yada yada yada. And we keep talking, and we're asking about what his needs were, like what it was that he really wanted, and he didn't want anything. He was like, "If you want to pray with me, you can pray with me," and that was it. And so we prayed with him, and that was like, that was him. We were asking him like, does he have a place to stay? Like, why is he out on the street? We were just asking like, why are you here? And he was like, because I want to be. And we were like, oh,
That's right.
is there not? Do you not like? Is it not cold outside? And he was like, listen, like he goes, did Jesus have a home? He goes, so then why do I need a home? That's literally what he said. And it was like, well, how am I supposed to respond to this? And he
Yeah.
just he wanted to do that. So he was just traveling and wandering. And he was like, I don't want food. Give food to the next guy. Like, this is what I want. Now, okay, is this everybody? No.
No.
The I would say that in America, like from, obviously having lived in America and having been around, wealthy areas and poor areas, the situation is extremely complex, and I don't think you can just throw money at it. I do seriously think like what I've seen from the neighborhoods that I've been in the United States is that there are a lot of neighborhoods that are seriously forgotten. Like I don't know how to explain this, but like people need to be like invested in, not just financially, but maybe again, that's why I need to know what the breakdown of this is, because maybe the 20 billion is going towards the things that people actually need, which
The
are like
infrastructures.
infrastructure and education, and because I actually think that like these are some of the biggest needs. I remember being in Philadelphia and being in one of the more difficult neighborhoods in Philadelphia, and you had a situation in which like father, like there was basically there were no dads, like no, like that was pretty much every kid that I had met, basically their dad was not around anymore, and they just had their mom who was working. And I remember this one kid. His dad was not around. Mom was working part time, but she was also addicted to drugs. And then he also had two younger sisters. And this kid was like 13, 14 years old at the time. And so for him, he's like, okay, like I need, like, there's no one else to provide for my family except for me. But he wasn't old enough to work. He wasn't 16. So he was like, his options are he gets involved with the gangs and sells, weed or cocaine or whatever else there is to, to make money so he can buy food for his two younger sisters, or he asks money from the government, but he couldn't figure, but he's only 13 and he can't do it, and his mom is an addict, and so you had all these like situations, and you basically had this entire neighborhood of kids that were dealing with this situation, and it was a situation that was so complex to solve.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if the money is being used to solve a situation like that, which is like trying to change the culture, the infrastructure, the investment, the drop, all of that, then okay, great. But maybe my so I guess that's the idea is I don't know what it's going to, and I don't know if they're just saying this, and I don't know if it's as simple as $20 billion. Maybe it would be more, maybe less. I have no idea, but
Yeah. And
maybe I
then
shouldn't be
if
upset at this. I have no idea. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong in being upset at this, and this is why like you said, like
I
reactionary is hard.
I think that for example, the experiences I've seen in close, and I like in my neighborhood. I mean, you guys can search Callao, Peru, with double L, Callao. Good luck. Like that's again, it's so dysfunctional. Most people are drug dealers or drug addicts and dysfunctional families and things like that. And so the last thing you can give them is money because they would consume. Like if they get money, actually they would consume, they would buy drugs because they are addicts, right? And so you can see this a similar problem, I think, to in LA, right? That the welfare that is given to the citizen, instead of using them for something useful, they just camp in the streets and they keep consuming. And again, people
Hmm.
might push back and say, "Oh, it's not as simple as that." Well, nothing is as simple as either that tweet or whatever. Like nothing is simple. We're complicated people, and it's multifactorial. And so this idea that just giving money will fix things is a lie. It's actually sometimes it
Yeah.
aggravates many of the problems.
Yeah, but the one thing I will say though is like I do think that we have to not neglect the problems that we have in the US. I think in the US there are a lot of problems, and
Yeah.
like the drug problem is huge. Like the that in Philadelphia, I remember being in Philadelphia being very sad and very and feeling very like hopeless. I felt like what could be done to solve this problem? And I think that like something has to be done, and I can see the um I do see why someone would be upset at the fact that we're sending, $17 billion out of America, outside of America, and while there are needs that are not being attended to inside America. I definitely see that, and I think it is very frustrating. I agree, but I also don't think it's as simple. I don't think it's as simple as that. Like,
Yeah.
and maybe I just feel like we have to be a little bit more, um, how do you say it? Not impartial, but like empathetic to
Yeah.
where the real problems are coming from. And yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Let's see if we react to one more or two more, and we call it. Let's see.
Interesting. First ever space hotel is slated to be operational by 2027. We literally just want healthcare.
Okay, I can see I feel that. I think a space hotel is ridiculous, but but maybe that's just me. I hate space, and I don't really I have no desire to be in space, and
Right,
yeah,
right. Yeah, I think I heard two arguments. I think that it was Jeff Bezos' interview on the Lex Friedman podcast. That's the
yeah,
only podcast he has ever done. I think Jeff Bezos,
yeah.
and he said something like the whole idea. Because again, you need to wonder: it's just money. Why are they so obsessed with the space, right? And so I think that Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, they believe that the future of humanity has to be, so to speak, at a planetary level, like interplanetary level. You know what I mean? Because the resources of the Earth are finite, and human beings. I mean, as you procreate more, it gets to a point where the people and the resources, the Earth is not infinite in its resources, so you have to outsource, or you have to find these resources somewhere else to feed that much population, right? And so I think that there are two ways you can go about it, right? You could either do like the birth, like regulating the number of birth allowed per country, but that's really hard to control. And it's quite tyrannical to do something like that, to tell people you cannot have more children because the resources of the earth. Like that's also a controversial path. Now I think that
But that's
people
what would
who
happen
don't
in the space hotel. That doesn't make any sense. There's a
no,
limited
but
amount of space in a space hotel. Like,
right, right. But I think that this idea of doing creating businesses like a hotel in the space, or like seeing the potential of living in Mars and things like that, it goes around this idea that we have to develop the tools and the ways to actually develop the way to live somewhere else apart from the earth,
yeah,
outside the earth. But at the
yeah,
same time, I'm like, bro, but there are
yeah,
bigger concern like healthcare. I'm
yeah,
like, there is nothing you can tell me that will make me change. I don't think my belief in healthcare, like nothing, because
yeah,
I think that, I mean, you need to have the right to get ill. Sorry, like like if a
yeah. I'm
society
with you.
doesn't strive, if as a common society we don't strive for something like that, I mean, our priorities are not in place, like they are not where they should be, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. No, I feel that. I mean, again, like that's where I'm like, I don't like that philosophy. I disagree with the Jeff Bezos, Elon philosophy on space and the
On
need
the
to conquer
space.
space.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's real, but I think they probably just want to go to space because I think it's interesting, and I think if that's the case, then just be honest about it. Like you think it's cool, so go for it. But I don't know that it's like a need because like Earth has a finite number of resources. Like you're trying to terraform Mars. Like what are you even talking about? Like that's like, it's going to take a lot of resources, and those resources are going to they're going to come from Earth in order to make it happen. I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, and so I'm
Yeah.
with that. I agree with this. But
Jesus is coming before that, everybody. No,
yeah.
it's just so
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, are you the type of person who thinks Elon Musk is this genius ever, like the one of the most enlightened people of our generation?
No, no, I just think that he's successful in his businesses. Like,
I think
I
maybe
don't
as
think,
an
I don't know, like, maybe, I
I think
guess, like,
I think maybe in as an engineer he is, but I think that again we commit this fallacious extrapolation of just because you are good at a specific field, that doesn't necessarily give you like this moral insight about
yeah,
everybody, right? Remember when we were talking about acting and actors, how people ask actor or actresses like
right.
their opinion about climate change or political things, like what do you think,
Hmm.
like what, just because they are good at acting, that doesn't necessarily makes them good thinkers or good researchers or good things like that. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah,
Now they might have great opinions, don't get me wrong, or theories, but it's not a given just because they are good at acting. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I feel like
No,
just
yeah,
because Elon is good as an engineer or CEO, that doesn't necessarily give him this enlightened pathway to a higher morality or insight for humanity
sure.
per se. But
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
okay.
Like, I'll never put on a Neuralink. Like, there's no chance. Like,
Yeah,
like,
same. Same, bro. Same. All right, let's watch one more.
Evangelicals will start
uh,
describing what heaven is like, and it's just a socialist society. You watch
Whoa,
I feel attacked.
bro.
Those two, the Hunger Games, what I'm curious about. Yeah, I feel attacked on this one.
And oh, okay, okay.
Do you
Let's
consider yourself?
discuss.
Do you consider
And
yourself an evangelical?
will start describing what heaven socialist
and then Hunger Games. Okay, let's do these two. The last
society.
ones. The last one. Okay, so what about this one? Evangelicals will start describing what heaven is like, and it's just a socialist society. Okay, let me react to this first.
Go.
Um, okay, the problem with heaven, the definition of heaven, heaven is not a place. It's a so to speak. How would you put it? It's a relationship. Okay, so if you
Yeah.
read John 17, well, the Christian heaven, let's say that, the
Mm,
gospel heaven, the heaven described by Jesus is not a place where you just are with more possessions, more wealth, whatever. No, it's a relationship. It's a place where you have a union with God. As the
hmm.
ancients would talk about this as union with God. So we reach absolute union with God, and so it's not this. There's not this infrastructure of commerce per se where there is like where it has to be everything shared and things like that. I don't know how that. I think that equating heaven with a socio-economic type of a structure as a socialist society, I think that it's just again, I feel like with these problems is that they are not comparing apples to apples. They are using, so to speak, a metaphor or an idea to compare it with something else, and when there is barely a resemblance there.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I think heaven mostly is a relationship, is a union with
Yeah.
God, as Jesus in the gospel says that heaven is to know Him and to know the Father, and so it's
Yeah.
basically that. Oh, that is heaven. Give me a second. I think I forgot to put do not disturb mode. I was getting a call. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Okay. No, I didn't hear the ring, but I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I was afraid I lost my camera, so I'm glad I didn't.
I
Anyways,
see your
so
camera. I hear
I
you.
would I would say that is a fake comparison, right? Like socialist
Yeah,
with heaven. What's your take?
I agree. I think that so I agree that that's an incorrect interpretation of heaven, but let's say it was. Like let's just take this premise as it is. Like what's also being missed is the fact that like the evangelical idea of heaven presupposes that people are perfect and that corruption doesn't exist. And part of the problems that we deal with in a social society is that there is corruption and people are evil, and so it doesn't work simply because of that. And that's why I think I'm probably more capitalism because I prefer I prefer to deal on the individual basis than I guess I prefer to deal with individual corruption than corruption on a corporal level. I guess, but
I see.
and this is I think what's being so
Missed.
if I although I don't agree with the evangelical idea of heaven, I think it's incorrect, and I think it's not really what the Bible actually discusses and talks about. If you wanted to argue it, it's still incorrect because this premise because of the fact that perfection is proposed
Right, and
or
I feel like
presupposed.
the belief and the underlying belief in people who espouse for a socialist type of society is again like it does not matter what economic or societal structure we have, as long as that structure is has as participants of members of that society human beings, it will not work. That's why it doesn't matter what perfect structure of socioeconomic structure we implement, because we are human and falling, that will be corrupted. And so it's not a
Right.
structural problem, it's a human heart problem. That is the
Hmm.
fundamental problem.
Yeah.
Capitalism would not exploit the earth and exploit people if people were actually perfect in the image of Christ, for example, right? Where greed doesn't override love for the earth, for God's creation, and for also the neighbor. And I think that same thing with a socialist society that would also work if greed
Hmm.
would not corrupt the top hierarchy, as George Orwell in his book La Rebelión de las Masas. I kind of the mass rebellion. I
The
don't know the
rebellion of the
translation of it.
masses. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He says that some people are more equal than no, some are more equal than others, or something like that. Meaning, like the people in the end, the people at organizing the structure of the socialist utopia, right? They were taking more advantages and privileges little by little, and so that's why he said in the novel, I think it was some people are more equal than others. Meaning, in the sense
Yeah.
like they are more equal in the sense that they are really sharing the same resources while we are having a difference of resources in the
Right.
end. And
Yeah,
so,
which is the
yeah,
way, and
so
that's just the way it's going to happen. And it's like, and again, I don't think most capitalists, again, I'm not, and again, I'm to be clear, I'm not a pure capitalist. I actually believe in many socialist programs, right? And social, I think a mix is really important. But I would say that most capitalists, like, it's not that they're like against socialism as an idea. Basically, what they all they think, I think most of them, is that human beings are corrupt. That like we're corrupt, and capitalism is not perfect. It's not like it's a perfect way to make to. It's not a perfect economic system, but it's more perfect than socialism,
yeah,
and
it's
they
a
choose it.
lesser
It's
evil. It's a lesser
it's
evil.
yeah, and that's it. So
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. I think that that's a good point, because I think that people who tend to criticize capitalism at times they talk as if people who are pro-capitalist, like they think that the system is perfect. I don't think so. I actually think that they believe in
hmm
that system precisely because they know how people are. Like people are
hmm
moved by self-interest and greed, and because of how the system is made, it's better to work at the level of the individual, so to speak.
right. I
But
like the
anyways,
agency. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, and let's do the last one.
You watched The
Or
Hunger
whatever.
Games, sided with the resistance. You watched Divergent, sided
All
with
right,
the
we don't have to
resistance.
list the whole thing. I
You
think we
watched
can read
Attack
it.
on the Titan, sided with the resistance. You read about history.
You read about history and sided with resistance. Why do you refuse to see it when it's in reality? Why don't you side with the resistance, Tristan Sleeper?
But I don't think resistance is holy just because it's resisting something. Like just because it's resisting, it doesn't mean that it's right. Uh, and in these films, well, here's the thing. I've
Okay,
actually never seen Divergent. Uh, I've never
what
seen. Go
the
ahead.
question is, what are you resisting? That is what
Yeah.
makes resistance good. Is why are you resisting? Tool of yes, I guess that's the right
What?
preposition.
Yeah. Just what are you resisting? What are you resisting,
Why are you
Rasta?
resisting? Are you resisting goodness in your life? Are you resisting truth? In that case, resisting
Right.
is bad. But if you are resisting evil voices and things like that, then that's good, right? That's what you're referring
Yeah.
to, I imagine.
Exactly. And honestly, I think that so I've never seen Divergent. I've never seen Attack on Titan, so I don't know. I actually don't know what the premise of those films. The Hunger Games is the one I have seen, and I'm pretty sure that like wasn't that kind of a communist society in a way? Like I'm trying to think, like wasn't there like a some like large government that was exploiting a bunch of people in these different districts, and
Yeah, I
like
mean, basically, is an like the in all of these movies, the point is that there is an oppressed minority or group of people, and they are powerful people, and they need to resist. And usually, the powerful people are doing that based on just self interest or profit or whatever, right? And they are taking advantage of
yeah,
minorities or a collective that is being oppressed.
yeah, yeah,
So that's basically
yeah. So I'm
the
like, yeah. So I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that whatever the society was in the Hunger Games, I feel like more resembles uh what we saw, what we saw under communism,
right.
and than what we see in capitalism. Now, I think that there has to be controls over capitalism. Like I definitely disagree with like there's some like I think of like BlackRock or like there are some individual companies that definitely have way too much power and a monopoly over things. And I actually like think that we have to figure out a way to control those and to keep that from happening so that like one entity doesn't have power over everything. Um, you know, like Amazon that kind of basically has like again in some ways I'm like I don't hate the whole Amazon story. Another way is the issue with Amazon is that it's basically a monopoly. Like uh but um that said, like yeah, I think that there is again there could be corruption in a capitalist society, and I think we have to figure out a way to avoid it. But like when I think about the Hunger Games, I don't think it doesn't feel like a capitalist society to me. It feels like a bunch of wealth is being hoarded at the top, but these people are also running the entire show. Like it's basically the government that's oppressing the
Mm.
people.
Okay, okay. So you are, oh, I see, I see. So in that case, you are not necessarily resisting capitalism, but the government or a form of government that is tyrannical, right? For example, I was this was really controversial. It seems. Oh, Sandra says that Animal Farm by George Orwell is the name of the book in English. The one I was referring that some people are more equal than others.
Oh,
Yes,
oh,
that book. That's what I was
oh!
referring.
Wow, I haven't read that in so long.
It's
I have to
so
read
good.
that. I have to
Everybody
read that again.
read that. Become aware of the tyrannies of the government that happens to, not just capitalism, but for example, I mentioned this to Sandra, and she was like, "Oh, dang, I didn't know that." But that is actually tyrannical, and the government did it. The Canadian government, when there was this protest by the truck drivers because of COVID or some.
Oh yes, I
Shoot,
remember
why did
that.
I say that word? The flu that everybody the pandemic. No,
What?
sometimes if you say
What
the
did you say?
word, they flag your video. The word that I
Oh,
just
really?
said, yeah, I forgot. Yes, whatever the thing in the air that
Tyranny.
happened. Okay, um, so the Canadian government actually basically how do you say froze the bank accounts of the truck drivers so that they couldn't survive on the road and so that they move and stop being doing activism. You know what I mean? Because they were complaining about the measures in Canada. It was really like everything was shut down and their livelihood were in danger. And so the Canadian government basically got into like the government froze their bank accounts of the
Hmm.
citizens. And so you wonder, it's like, wow, like
Yeah.
that is the type of power.
Unless they got the jab. I'm trying to think of how
Yeah,
to avoid.
but they got the
I don't
banks to
remember.
actually like
Okay.
say, okay, don't freeze their accounts. They don't have access to these things and things like that, just because the truck drivers were protesting against these measures and things. And you might agree with the protest or not, but are you serious? Like freezing their bank accounts so that they don't have access to their own money? That is crazy,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That is an amount
That's
of control
intense.
that is scary.
Yeah.
But
So
anyways, okay.
yeah, if the resistance
Well,
is if you're resisting something bad, then then I'm with the resistance. That's what
okay.
I'll say.
I'm gonna stop sharing. All right, everybody. This was actually quite enjoyable. I had a lot of fun actually. I was really relaxed and
Yeah.
just enjoying the conversation. And everybody, please, I love the poor. Okay, just you shouldn't infantilize the poor. That's what I'm trying to say. You just have an image of the poor. I live with real poor people and I love them, but I feel like people don't even have an idea because they haven't done like how do you say field work or so to speak, like in the trenches
Yeah,
with
yeah,
them to
yeah.
really know them. Like if you really talk to
Hmm.
people who actually work with the poor, they can tell you firsthand, oh my goodness, they can be tough. There are many difficult days. So, just don't
Yeah.
infantilize them.
No,
They are
totally.
human beings.
I think it's like that with everybody, with like a lot of groups. Like I think there's a
Yeah,
lot of groups like if you don't spend time with them, then you don't know.
yeah,
I spent like most of my life like work like dealing with people with like brain injuries that like
right.
yeah that couldn't walk or couldn't and but like because of that, I think I feel I don't infantilize them in a way, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's sort of like I don't know. The more you spend time with the community, the less you
You are less
honestly, the
naive.
more you respect them, the more you respect them as human beings,
Yeah,
as just
exactly.
as a living, breathing human being, and you don't infantilize them.
Yeah,
So
and also you have a more informed love. It's less naive, less
yeah,
naivete
yeah.
in your love, and because of that, you
Hmm.
humanize the person and realize, wow, we're full of crack. And the poor is not the only annoying people. You are annoying. I am annoying many times. And for example, philosophers tend to be quite pedantic and annoying and to talk to. And I understand that, and that's part of the stereotype, and it's there because of something. So that's what I'm trying to say. Is like I don't want everybody to feel like, oh, like what, the rest is not annoying. No, everybody's annoying. You are annoying too. And so it's just let's not over idealize just because we are trying to protect the victims. Like let's take care
Yeah.
of the victim in a more realistic manner that is more informed, less naive, and things like that. Anyways, so that's it. Oh my goodness, 1 hour and 26 minutes
Yeah, no, we
of
gotta
our live
relax.
stream. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I mean, hey everybody, we're doing this because we value you as an audience. We're doing this in the meantime, while I finish the thesis and to start again with the season 2 and start doing different series that we're excited to do. Tristan and I, and also Santi will be joining us. A friend of ours will be joining us also for some discussions and things like that. And hopefully the production also will improve. I will have some editors helping us out for the channel so that we can keep some people from the Philippines. But hey, we're gonna pay them fair, okay? I'm going to pay them fair according to the market value of their work, okay? I'm not. Don't
Dude,
cancel me.
don't
Don't cancel me.
exploit. Don't yeah, yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
exploding
Okay.
anybody, okay? So I'm gonna pay them well. Okay, and that's pretty much it. I think our next live stream, I will post it on social media, on the comments on my community board on YouTube. I'll let you know. We'll be talking about more things. If you are interested that we react to something or that we discuss some topics, send it my way. You have my contact, my media. You can DM me whatever you want. So if you want me to cover something, a text or whatever, we can do that in the next live stream. But that's pretty much it for today. Yeah. Do we feel good, Tristan?
I feel good. I'm hoping we don't get canceled for anything, or that people finish, or if
All
people
right.
have disagree that they respond. But yeah, I feel
Nah,
great.
nah,
Thanks.
everybody, we are doing
Thanks for the
this out
time.
of love, okay? We're doing this out of love, and if we offended you, we're sorry, but we're doing this out of love. Thinking is hard, and obviously we make mistakes.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining us in this Philosophy in Real Life podcast type of live stream number 2. Remember, this is a community where we try to unmask wrong interpretations of the world, and by doing that, we are always, it's a risky business, is wrestling with the truth, wrestling with God, wrestling with ourselves, wrestling with humanity, and as the wrestling nature of things, like just stuff, you make mistakes, you get injured, and things like that. So, but anyways, here we are
Mm.
thinking together, thinking hard, and I hope you have a lovely rest of the week, everybody. Adios.
Bye.
Let me cut the live stream here, and okay, and